Christopher Columbus's voyage from Spain across the Atlantic Ocean marked the beginning of the most important encounter of places and peoples in human history. It began unpromisingly. Columbus thought his Atlantic voyage westward would establish a shortcut to the back door of the Orient, but it produced first confusion, then disappointment when it was discovered that two immense land masses lay across the path to that back door. Official Europe turned its back on this disappointment, but freebooting Europeans soon learned how to exploit the natural and human resources of this new world, first by the extraction of valuable metals, then of high priced commodities. With minimal governmental oversight, investment, or even interest, European adventurers found coming to America to be like crossing the line into a place where traditional European ideas of society no longer applied. They created societies unlike any other in Europe, freer from European limitations, open to accumulations of unheard of wealth by disenfranchised classes, unprecedented in their capacity to absorb, assimilate, and diffuse distinctions in status and religions that Europeans had assumed were permanent features of human societies. In the place of traditional notions of order, Europeans found themselves able to live bravely and write new social, economic, and political scripts for their lives. Christopher Columbus's voyage from Spain across the Atlantic Ocean marked the beginning of the most important encounter of places and peoples in human history. The New World that Columbus discovered was first inhabited anywhere from 40,000 to 12,000 years ago and was populated by successive waves of immigrants from Eastern Asia. The remains of Kennewick Man, uncovered in 1996 in Washington state, have contributed to the controversy regarding just who the first immigrants to the Americas were and where they came from. By 1500, Native Americans may have numbered as many as 15 million in North America and spoke some 300 different languages. Some native cultures, such as Aztecs in Mexico and Incas in South America, were socially stratified and highly developed civilizations. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe lapsed into a cultural and economic backwater. The continent was fragmented, controlled in the east by the Byzantine Empire and in the west by the remnants of Roman rule. It was politically disorganized. Its internal economy was reduced to the most primitive levels of barter and reciprocity. It emphasized the difficulties ancient cultures had in reviving themselves because the possibility of importing outside influences and new ideas was expensive and minimal. The Crusades changed this picture, however. They opened the possibility for organized, state supported exploration. They opened Europe to tremendous new possibilities of trade and culture with the Middle East and beyond that, the Orient. These possibilities encouraged Europeans and European governments to undertake new explorations for opening markets in the Middle East. Marco Polo demonstrated the opportunities of exploration by penetrating all the way to China, but also the limitations on private expeditions. Mediterranean states and cities underwrote trading expeditions and colonies in the eastern Mediterranean and Black Sea. Not all these exposures were profitable. For example, the Black Death was imported into Europe over trade routes to the Black Sea. Western European states, frustrated by lack of geographical proximity, the costs of transport, and Eastern Mediterranean monopolies, began to underwrite their own expeditions. Prince Henry the Navigator made Portugal a major sponsor of explorations into the near Atlantic and down the coast of Africa. Vasco da Gama succeeded in rounding the Cape of Good Hope and establishing a trade route to India, which the Portuguese protected by means of colonies. The newly reunited Spanish came late to exploration and were willing to take the risk proposed by Columbus of gaining access to the Orient by sailing west across the Atlantic in 1492. Surprisingly, though, Columbus's discovery was at first a great disappointment because the American continents were an obstacle to reaching China. Subsequent expeditions attempted to find ways across the Americas. Magellan sailed around South America and into the Pacific only to find it immensely huge than anyone had thought the path to the Middle East, the path to the East would be. Balboa attempted to find a path across the narrowest part of the Americas in Panama. Other European adventurers looked for a northwest passage or a navigable water through the continents. Europeans found the physical appearance of North America alternately fascinating and frightening. When no such path appeared to be opened, the European states turned their attention elsewhere. This encouraged individual freebooters like Cortes and Pizarro to launch their own expeditions, looking for treasure in the Americas rather than around it. With minimal state oversight, these freebooters found America to be a place where traditional European ideas of society and behavior no longer applied. Colonial societies emerged that were open to social experimentation, to accumulations of unheard of wealth by disenfranchised classes, to political or exploitative arrangements unthinkable to European society, and to the erosion of distinctions in status and religion. This frequently came at tremendous cost to the native ecology, native populations, and the slaves and servant classes who were used to extract the wealth and support the experimentations. That's it for now. In the next lecture, we will be talking about Spain, France, and Netherlands and how they came about occupying the Americas and established their own foothold and colonies. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe.